What's up, everybody? Not going to talk about gun control or a movie right now. Something else I've noticed that's going on social media that I don't want to demonize anybody or castigate anybody. I just kind of want to call attention to it because it involves quite a few people, and if you don't watch yourself in this regard, you can kind of go down the wrong path and end up wasting a lot of time. All right, let me do something to my computer here so that it won't be interrupting me while I'm trying to do this, because I really want to spend a few minutes talking about this. It's something that I see a lot of people getting into, and I care about you all. That's why I'm just trying to talk about it. What happens is this: social media has pretty much revolutionized a lot of things, and those things that it hasn't revolutionized, like shopping and advertising and people connecting with one another, it has at least changed significantly. So what you see a lot of now are people that seem to be living lives that social media is a part of in a lot of ways. They take a lot of photos, they put up a lot of posts, they put a few video snippets and whatnot. And if you look at them long enough, it seems like you are a huge part of their life. But the reality is, none of us, no matter how much we post, none of us have our whole lives out there. I mean, I put up a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not the totality of my life, not anywhere near it. Okay. But what happens is people get addicted to the attention, or if it's not addicted to the attention, what happens is they see other people who they admire or maybe want to be like, or even become envious of, and they start to try to compete with that, or if not compete with that, they try to keep up with it. I think what is happening over time is that people have vacated themselves, and they have created these personalities online that they feel need to be kept up. They need to be maintained. And in essence, over time, you lose who you are. Because the truth is, all of us have to deal with time. It's just like gravity. You can ignore gravity all you want, but what's going to happen is it's going to affect you over time in different ways. And what I see are examples of people consistently trying to maintain who they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And after a while, it becomes pretty pathetic. Some of the more simple examples are like they only post pictures of themselves 5 or 10 years ago. They don't look anything like that anymore. But that's silly. Some of what I see that's concerning is, for example, like when someone still tries to engage in activities, or they still have certain habits in their lives, or hang out with a certain type of person, a certain group of people that they outgrew 5 or 10 years ago. And they're just not at that point in their life anymore. I mean, I'm not telling anybody that you got to grow old and be boring, but there is a time in your life where you have to accept and then hopefully embrace where you are. Because if you don't accept and embrace where you are in life in terms of maturity and development, after a while you look a little silly, and what's worse, you waste a lot of time. And time is very precious. But even more than that, even more than that, this is the biggest thing. Who you are now and who you're becoming now has just as much, if not more, to offer to the world than who you were at 25, 30 years old. Now, this is mainly an issue for people around my age range, people that late 30s, early 40s, late 40s, early 50s. What happens is we get connected with a whole lot of people and we get caught up in trying to continue being this person that we no longer are. And when you try to maintain that personality, that image, you miss the huge amount of potential that you still have inside of you. There is still great, untapped, undeveloped, undelivered, undeposited potential in you. But if you still worry and try to maintain that version of you that was around 5 and 10 years ago, you are wasting potential. In essence, you're trying to turn back the clock, but as you turn back the clock, ironically, you're losing time. You're not the same. You're not the same. You are not the same. Stop trying to be the same. Accept where you're going in life. And you have so much more responsibility to yourself and to your family and to the world to be who you're becoming, to continue digging deep inside of you and continuing to discover the jewels and the riches and the seeds of untapped, ungerminated potential inside of you. There is more. Don't put a period, put a comma there. There is more to you than this version of you that you think was the best you that you could ever be. And we get caught up on the superficial nonsense. I was thinner back then. I was younger looking back then. My hair, I had a better hairline back then. I was in better shape back then. I was beautiful back then. I was handsome back then. I was attractive back then. Yeah, but mentally and psychologically and socially, you don't have as much to offer as you do now. Your talents are still there, but they need to be developed. Where were you psychologically back then? Fall in love with who you are now. Stop trying to maintain who you were a decade ago. It's bad. And the reason this really bothers me, and I'm not trying to get anybody's business and tell anybody to live their life. I just want you to consider something first. Consider where you are, and that will tell you where you're going. Consider this. Where you are now, what potential, what dreams and goals that you have now still remain unaddressed. They still remain untapped. They still lie dormant. You can't be the great version of you trying to be yesterday's version of you. It's impossible. That person served his or her time. They were wonderful back then. But trying to be that is the biggest waste of time because you still have so much more to offer the world. Stop worrying about photos of you when you were 20 pounds thinner and you had no gray hair on your face. Forget that. You're not there anymore. There's so much more inside of you that should come out and be a blessing to the world. Work on that person. Develop that person. Be that person. Stop trying to uphold and maintain a stale rerun of yourself. Because you know what? You can only watch a television show so many times before it gets old. And why continue to wear a mask of yesterday's version of you when today's version is a lot better? It's real life. It's not a pretense. Anyway, I got to head out of here. I hope I gave you guys some food for thought today. Continue to be blessed.